Hey YouTube, we are 1 week away from league turnover, season turnover, and we have been teased a big move update. So what I'm going to do this video is just go over the Pokemon that are sort of top ranked now and talk about what moves I think should be nerfed, if any, which I do think there are some that should be nerfed, uh, and other moves or typings that should be buffed. Uh, so let's just start with the rankings here on Great League because there's a couple things that people need to think about with. Um, I always heard people talk about nerfing stuff all the time, but you need to think about it's not just one move that needs to be nerfed and it just to affect that one Pokemon. It has resounding effects on every Pokemon. So what I'm talking about in particular is Medicham. Medicham with counter, as noted by the Pokemon Go Championship, 85% of the teams had this Pokemon because it is extremely strong given its bulk. Counter is one of the best fast moves in the game. It has psychic, which so it's a fighter. It's a fighter psychic, so it has psychic typings for the stuff that fighting is resisted from, like poison and stuff like that. And then it has ice punch as a flying and coverage. So your poisons that resist fighting, you have a coverage for. Your flyers that resist fighting, you have a coverage for in ice. So having the bulk, having a counter user, which is one of the broken moves in the game, and having moves that just have insane coverage makes this one of the best Pokemon. So yes, there are hard answers like Jellicent and stuff like that. Charizard, even Charizard bait dependent, like you need to land a blast burn there, stuff like that. So 24 and 18 record, it plays much better than 24 and 18. Even the Sableye, like if you get like one extra counter through in the Sableye matchup, because you live one foul play, right? So you still get this Sableye down to 36. And in the zero shield, let's say you don't have a zero shield because, oh, they only return here. If they just go double foul play, let's say they don't, let's say you just let one go, but you have one counter energy. And actually, let me maximize this here first. Maximize this and maximize this and give you one counter energy advantage. Because one foul play does not take you out, you will get that second ice punch off, and you now in a brutal matchup against a Ghost Dark where your counters are resisted, you're only going for non-stab ice punches, get a Sableye, get an XL Sableye down to 23 health in the red. And that is just like how broken Medicham is right now. So a lot of people are saying, nerf counter, nerf counter, nerf counter. You can't nerf counter. You can't nerf counter because there are hundreds of Pokemon that have, not hundreds, but a ton of Pokemon that have counter. Poliwrath, Scrafty, Vigoroth, Defense Deoxys, Wobbuffet, Machamp, Buzzhole, Haxorus, Pessimin, the new Pokemon, Surfetch, Phalanx, Lucario, Obstagoon, Hitmonchan, Escav, right? The list goes on. Blaziken, and this is just Toxicroak. This is just Great League. Same thing with Ultra League. A ton of Pokemon in Ultra League. All the ones I just mentioned have, plus Heracross, stuff like that, have Primeape, have counter. So you can't just nerf counter because it will have an effect on all these Pokemon. Can you nerf? So the question is, are you going to take a move away from it? If you do, you can take a move away from it, which I don't know I've ever seen that. You would take away Ice Punch to lower its flyer coverage and grass coverage, right? And make it a little trickier versus those Pokemon. So yes, you can nerf Ice Punch or get rid of Ice Punch to help there. You can't really nerf Ice Punch. Well, you can nerf Ice Punch because not a ton of Pokemon have Ice Punch. Like there's, I know off the top of my head, there is, how do you do two moves in one? Can you just do back to back? I don't know how to do at move Ice Punch. But Ace Sandslash has Ice Punch. Oh yeah, these are all the ones with Ice Punch. Poliwrath has Ice Punch, right? Ace Sandslash has Ice Punch. So a couple of those nerfs there would kind of hurt it. So either you take it away. I would say nerf Psychic. Because there are not, this is actually showing me all the Psychic Pokemon too now, but there are actually not a ton of Pokemon that have the move Psychic itself, right? If you're looking for the move Psychic, you're not seeing it on this list. You're just seeing Psychic Pokemon here. there is no Victini at 121. Is the only one with Psychic. And same with Ultra League. Like, actual one with Psychic itself is not much. I've not even seen one yet. Victini again, right? Because so it's very, very rare to see that move. So if you nerf that move, or take away Ice Punch, I think those are your best ways of actually nerfing Medicham if you want to nerf Medicham, which I think you do. The other one everyone always talks about is Registeel. And really, I think there's Focus Blast, which is just used by the other Regis, like Regirock. Mew has a million movesets. A couple of these other things I think have Focus Blast in there. Yeah, so that's why it's not the main moveset, but all these other ones you're seeing have Focus Blast as a secondary move. Hypno Gengar, but all have it. But it's mostly just the Regis. So you can nerf the nukes, you can nerf Zap Cannon, you can nerf Focus Blast, because it really would only affect the Regis. Zap Cannon, there's a few more Probopass in the Ultra League. Ampharos has it mostly used in the Ultra League. So you can nerf the nukes, or of course one that only affects Regis. I shouldn't say only Reggie, because there's Porygon too, which is kind of spicy, is Lock On. You nerf 10 energy per turn. There is so fast. If you nerf it down half or one, significantly lowers the Regis. And Regis, especially Registeel in the Great League and Ultra League, look at that. Registeel 1, Regirock 6, Regi Ice 36. Like, they're all pretty strong in the Ultra League and even in the Great League. 2, 24, 45, right? So these are all extremely strong Pokemon in terms of ranking. So I think Lock On, just given how fast that energy generation, you can just easily nerf that. The only other, like, again, Mudshot is one of those where I don't think you can nerf it, just because so many other Pokemon rely on Mudshot. Quagsire, Whiscash, Diggersby, Politoed, Normal Stunfix, Excadrill, Marshtop, Flygon. Like, you can't just nerf it to hurt Swampert, because it would hurt that. You can nerf Hydro Cannon. Greninja jumped up because of how spammy and strong it is. Swampert's just OP with that move. So you can definitely nerf Hydro Cannon if you want to. I don't know if they want to nerf Community Day moves like that. I think they have before, but there is that. The only other move I would nerf is Lanturn. Lanturn is one of the most broken Pokemon. You can just go like Spark and Surf against Sableye. And because why it's so broken is because grass is so limited in this meta, right? So outside of grass, you're gonna do like great against everything else, except for like even ground you can hit for neutral. It's just the ground's gonna resist the Spark and Thunderbolt, so you can only go Surf. But even that, it's just such like a strong Pokemon. So 25 and 17 record, right? And you don't see a ton of this grass, which is your hardest answer, right? So now you're already just looking in like the 400 range, which makes it so hard to deal with. So again, if you want to nerf something, Spark, Surf, or Thunderbolt, personally, I would nerf Surf. I think the problem with Surf is, so there's only like two other Pokemon that really, actually there's only, two other Pokemon that really rely on Surf. Jellicent and Tapu Fini are the only two that really rely on Surf. Mewtwo, I guess, because that's its main moveset, but Haxorus with Surf, interesting. So I would nerf Surf just because it's so quick to get to and actually does quite a lot of damage for that. I don't think you can nerf Spark, because there's other stuff like Magnezone and Luxray, and again, you're getting into some of these like lower Pokemon which would have an issue with it. Thunderbolt, I think, is the same sort of thing, where there's just like a lot of other Pokemon that use Thunderbolt. Not as many. So Miltank, right? Miltank for coverage there. I saw Defense Deoxys. A lot of these are not using it in the Ultra League. Let me see the Great League. Let me just see the Ultra League. Right. Zapdos. So there's not a ton. So you can nerf Thunderbolt as well, but I think Surf is the main problem with this Pokemon, just how fast it gets to Surf and actually how hard Surf hits in neutral situations. You're actually like, unless you're hitting super effective, you're mostly just going Surf over Thunderbolt. But that's it for the Great League and Ultra League that I think really need nerfs. I don't think you want to do a ton of nerfs. If you're going to nerf, those are the Pokemon that I would nerf and how I would nerf them. It's mostly about buffing moves or giving Pokemon other moves. So there are 3 typings that I think are really, really crappy, for lack of a better word, in Pokemon Go. The first is Poison. Right? So Great League, after the Nidoqueen nerf, your best Poison Pokemon is Shadow Golbat. And even that is just going to get absolutely destroyed by a lot of the ice and Lanturn, steels, and ice that and rock that just dominate the current meta. So one of the best poisons is just going to get destroyed. Toxapex, same thing. It's super bulky, but with the domination of steels and ground in this meta right now, it's you can run it. It just makes it tough to run. So with that, Shadow Drapion is kind of your best answer in the Great League and Ultra League. I talked about how strong Venusaur can be. It's a little glassy. And I also went how Beedrill and limited metas is super strong. So these are okay poison Pokemon. But I think it's poison is definitely hurting here. And then you get to like Weezing. It's not even really relying on its poison type moves, right? It's relying on its fairy type moves. And that's more Ultra League. Like when we go to Ultra League, Weezing as the top one is mostly focusing on the dark and play rough or the overheat. It's not really poison, right? So I think poison needs a buff. I think they already increased poison jab. So I think you have to I don't know what you do. I think Venusaur is okay. I think it's when you get down to like these in like the hundreds here, like how do you buff Sludge Bomb? Do you buff Poison Fang again? Dragall, do you buff, if you buff Poison Sting, it makes Drapion even stronger. If you don't want to touch the jab, you make Poison Sting either a little more, it's mostly just energy generation, so you do it maybe a little more damage. You're getting more energy generation would make Drapion really, really tough in like Ultra League to go against, because it would just be so spammy. So maybe a little more damage there. They got to do something with poison, in my opinion. The other thing they need to do is, I'll go with Bug first, because again, not many. I think you need to buff Lunge. Quite honestly, I think Lunge is a nice coverage move, but again, Bug is just so weak in general that you're not getting a ton of play out of Bug Pokemon. So I would not be mad if they buff Bug Bite, Lunge, Bug Buzz, X Scissor. X Scissor is a terrible sort of move. So if you buffed any of these bug type moves, I would not be mad. And the third thing is electric outside Lanturn, because Lanturn's broken because of its half water typing in the Surf. So the problem with electric, and I've gone over this many times, is that its stats from the main game don't translate over to this. Like you in the main game, you get advantage of like speed and stuff like that, but that doesn't happen in Pokemon Go. So you're left with like the lower defense, but don't get anything of the speed that comes with this game. So what do? The problem is you can Thundershock is already like a very, very fast charging move. Wild Charge is already such a hard hitting move. Thunderbolt, decent hitting move. You can, again, I said you can't really buff Thunderbolt because Lanturn, right? So you can't really deal with Thunderbolts. Maybe you buff some of these other moves like Discharge and stuff like that. The problem that I actually have with this is, and I don't know if any of these Pokemon can learn, is coverage. So Togedemaru, who I've used a million times, I've said this is like one of the strongest Pokemon, except it gets walled by ground. So if you gave Togedemaru or you gave Pachirisu, again, I don't have a Pachirisu yet, but yeah, only has electric moves. Emolga, Discharge, Acrobatics, again, nothing that it can throw at the sort of ground steel, like Stunfisk. These Pokemon need a coverage move. They need they need a drill run, essentially, right? These electric Pokemon need a drill run for coverage moves or something to that. I don't know if they can learn these moves or what, but they essentially need a coverage move to deal with the ground steel that the ground double resists the electric move. So you need coverage for these Pokemon, and if you did that, you would have a lot more. Again, these are all super glassy Pokemon. Togedemaru, again, Pachirisu is XL, so not that much, but like Raikou, Galvantuz is so glassy. Like even the Ultra League level 50 is glassy. Shadow Zapdos is fun, but super glassy. Sandy Electrode. So super glassy Pokemon hit hard, but just kind of their lack of bulk does not make up for the fact of how hard they hit, given how glassy they are. And how they can just get walled. So they just need that coverage move. I don't know what that coverage move is. I don't know what they actually can have access to. So those are the three typings I think need a buff. The other thing is grass. And let's go back to the Great League for grass, because grass is such a tricky one. Because I say with the increase of, and they all have coverage moves, and the problem is they cannot cover the three things that make meta right now. So water is overrepresented right now in this meta, in the Great League in particular, right? Look at water. Again, some of these are shadow versions, but like Swampert, Pelipper, Poliwrath, Quagsire, Walrein, Whiscash, Lanturn again, Jellicent, Azumarill, Mantine, Dugong, Greninja, Tapu Fini, Toxapex, like so many water Pokemon in the top 100. And it's because grass is so limited in this meta. And the grass type moves aren't even bad moves. Like Frenzy Plant, nuke of moves. Earthquake, great coverage for Steel. Lurantis, superpower, great coverage for Steel. The problem is when you have a grass type move, you can't throw anything at Steels, and you can't throw anything because it's resisted, and your Flyers is resisted, and you can't cover both with your second move, right? So this superpower Earthquake is great coverage for the Steels, but now you have nothing to throw at the Flyers. Abomasnow, Weather Ball, obviously it's half ice, great coverage for the Flyers, but Weather Ball, Energy Ball, you have nothing to throw at the Steels. So again, in a meta that is dominated by Flyers, Water, and Steel, you cannot cover all three at once, which makes you a liability, as opposed to some of these Pokemon where you're just hitting for neutral, like Medicham, where between the Ice Punch and the Psychic, you're hitting, and the Counter Fast move, you're hitting neutral on everything, essentially, right? There's nothing that really resists all three. And that's sort of the problem with grass. I don't know how you fix that. And I think that's just kind of the limitations of grass, but I still think grass is such a strong thing. So maybe it comes down to nerfing Flying and Steel, right? The Flyers got the huge Wing Attack buff, which has kind of changed the meta, and there's so many Flyers with Wing Attack that makes it all of them with strong play here. So with all these Wing Attack users, it's tough to bring a grass, and then Steel is also so overrepresented, right? Because you have the Registeel, which I said you can deal with that. Galarian Stunfisk, you can again, it's not terrible, it's not great, it's not. I don't think Stunfisk is as overpowered as like Registeel is, but if you wanted to nuke Earthquake a little bit, because of like you can double shot Stunfisk with Swampert nuking Earthquake there. Bastion, again, Bastion's one of these where it's like yes, it's tough, but you can just wall it so hard. So I don't hate Bastiodon this high, but then it's like a Sandslash. There's actually quite a drop between the main steals and the other ones, right? Because the main steals are Registeel, Stunfisk, Bastiodon, a Sandslash, which are everywhere. And then you're like second tier of no one uses Skarmory. Skarmory needs a coverage move. Just speaking about coverage move, Brave Bird, Sky Attack, Flash Cannon. It needs a coverage move for steals and water, because right now everything is resisted by steals and waters. Can you even get return on Skarmory? Yeah, I guess you could. But everything's resisted by steel and water right now. Not water, like electric water. In particular, Lanturn. Lanturn walls everything on Skarmory. So Skarmory could also use a secondary move update there. Like a Sandslash. Some people are saying a Sandslash. I don't. A Sandslash is one of those like yes, Jorwin provided it amazing coverage. When you were double weak to fire and fighting and ground, like not that weak to ground, but you're weak to ground, which is everywhere too. I don't think Sandslash is overpowered. Some people say it is overpowered, and a lot of people brought it to regionals, not like worlds, and did well with it. I just think there are answers for it, so I'm not as worried about Sandslash because it's pretty glassy and double weak to a few things, so I'm not super worried about that. But that's it. Again, I'm mostly focusing on Great League here, but you need to think about the ramifications for Ultra League. The problem is Great League is so limited in the meta. Like I said you can build. I haven't even talked about Carbink yet, which again, Global Goal Fest is happening this weekend, so I think a lot more people will have Carbink coming out of it. But I said all you really need to build is one of these steals in Registeel or Stunfisk, a Swampert, or a Lanturn, Medicham, Lickitung, or Sableye as a safe swap, Quagsire as an option if you don't have Hydro Cannon Swampert, a flyer in Altaria or Noctowl, and that's it. That's all you need. A Sandslash is also very, very strong. Those are the 10 you need for Great League. If you put a mixed combo of those 10, you will, knowing how to use the team, basically hit legend, right? Because they're just like such strong Pokemon dominate the meta. The Ultra League has been the most open it has been in a very, very long time. Yes, you have Registeel and Cobalion, but like, I kind of stopped at like 15 on the other screen because like, oh yeah, that's all that's used. But like, if we go down to like, yes, I would use Tapu, I would use Walrein, I would use Double, I would use Charizard, I would use Jellicent, I would use Buzzle, I would use Stunfisk, I would use Scrafty, I would use Clefable, I would use Greninja. I've used Shadow Zapdos many times. I would still use Trevenant even though it's nerfed. I love using Shadow Dragonite. Florges I haven't tried yet. I would like to use a Sandslash, of course. Defense Deoxys is super strong in this meta. Cofagrigus, if I had the XLs, I would build one. Obstagoon is super underrated. Galarian Weezing is great for coverage. Like, you are now getting down into the 50s where it's like, yes. I would use all these Pokemon. These Pokemon are very, very good in this meta. Tentacruel, a couple people swear by Tentacruel in limited metas and sometimes in open. Like, there's so many Pokemon in Ultra League that you can use. So the Ultra League is not the problem. The Great League is the problem. And the Great League is the problem because you have 10 Pokemon dominating it. And then in the limited cups, you have like 5 Pokemon dominating. So you need huge buffs to... that's why you can nerf a couple. Like I said, you can nerf Registeel and Lanturn and stuff like that and Medicham. But it's not just that. You need to buff a bunch of these other Pokemon down in like the 30s to 40s to make them viable to use on a general day-to-day basis. Master League, I think Master League also has this problem. Like, they're trying to introduce new Pokemon. Again, Zygarde, you're not going to get any freaking shards or whatever they call it. But they're trying, like, they're giving Xerneas a new moves. They gave, again, it's not even a good move, but Breaking Swipes to, where is Breaking Swipes on? Rayquaza. Breaking Swipes to Rayquaza, right? They're trying to give you options in the Master League. Again, the options is not the issue. It's obtaining those options. It's a pay to win, right? 50 you need to do in general. Even let's just say you started today, because some people are starting today, and these Pokemon are out for 1, maybe 2 weeks at best. Let's say 2 weeks, and let's say you were able to use your free raid pass every single day, so 14 days, and let's say you get the 6 minimum, right? The 3 guarantee plus the 3. So that's 6. So 14 times, so let's say 14, 2 weeks times 6. You're looking at 84 XL candies. You need 296. So if you actually wanted to get these Pokemon during that time frame, you would then need to spend to what did I say? I said 84, 296, so 212. Say you average 6, you would need to do another, I'm doing a lot of math here, like the 40, no, not 40. Like, if you, considering you're going to trade some of these and you may get boosted, let's say you need to do still another 30 raids during the week, which means you're spending money on this game. It's a pay to win, right? There's some Pokemon on this list that you don't need to pay to win, like Dragonites are everywhere. Florges is kind of everywhere. It's a little trickier. Gyarados, same thing. You can get Mamoswine. Like, there are some Pokemon that you do not need it for, but for the most part, majority are legendary Pokemon. And the moves aren't the issue. It's the just actually getting them is the issue. So pay to win Master League, we're having a tough time the last few weeks of the season because we have like 3 straight weeks of Master League to end the season. So that's what makes Master League tough. But other than that, those are my thoughts on nerfs and buffs. Plus, who knows? I think the drill run was a great addition to these two Pokemon, Sandslash and Dugong. Really, really bumped them up there, provided them a lot more opportunity to have play and coverage here. I just think you need this coverage type move on a bunch of other Pokemon, Electric being the main one, maybe Poisons as well, right? When you the problem with the Poisons is, besides Poisons moves not being great, a lot of the time you don't have hard answers for the Steels, which are everywhere, right? So having more Steel coverage for these Poisons would be kind of necessary. And that's all I can think about off the top of my head here. But yeah, we will see what they come with. We are promised move update. That's supposed to be big. Again, who knows what that actually means. I will cover all those move updates in a video. When it comes out, what I'll do, so here's my promise to you. Basically, we're gonna get the news drop. If you're not a partner, like the majority of us are not, it's basically just getting that information out ASAP. So what I'll do is just kind of get that information out ASAP and give you like my first thoughts on it. So if they do anything, if they like nerf lock on, I'll be like, okay, that's very easy. Registeel is gonna drop. Or if they nerf Surf, okay, Gel Santa and Lanturn are gonna go down a bit. Those are easy ones. It's the other ones that get move updates, where you can kind of be like, you'll know they're going to be stronger or weaker, but you won't know the full effect. Like Sandslash having drill run coverage, you know is going to be stronger. You didn't know how much stronger it would be. Stuff like that. So I'll do a quick, like, hey, this is what they announced. This is the move changes. This is what it means in terms of strength or weakness in general. And then I'll do a more in-depth analysis of like, okay, here's what this actually means breakdown in terms of like changes in your win-loss against the meta. And then, of course, if I have the access to most of these Pokemon, which I should have the access to the majority of these Pokemon, then I will use them in Great League and give you my analysis on it. The only Pokemon I don't have right now on this list is Carbink. I have every one of these other Pokemons in this meta. Yes, I do. The only one I have this one. I don't have it built up. I've caught a couple of them. I don't have many of them. I have a couple of them that I could build up, but so that is the only one. So Carbink and that are the only ones in the top 100 that I do not. Pachirisu, which again, you need the XLs. It's supposed to be available for Global Go Fest. I won't be able to power it all up yet. I have an Emolga. I haven't powered it up yet. I have one, but I have not powered it up yet. But other than that, I have every single one of these Pokemon in the top 100 and then some. So I will be able to showcase a lot of these moves. And I have sitting on almost 13 million dust, which is my highest ever. So I will definitely build up Pokemon. I'm not worried about building up Great League or Ultra League Pokemon. Again, I'm trying to save dust for the Master League, but again, I'm not gonna I'm nowhere close to any of these Pokemon being having enough XLs to power up. So like Great League and Ultra League, I will spend all the dust to build up the Pokemon to give you guys some stuff. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching, and hope you like this. Let me know in the comments below what you think needs to be nerfed or buffed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.